We go. Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic lesson known classics. This is episode number 3024, Doubleshot number 2918. First up, we're reviewing Vigilante, Volume 3, the first 4 issues along with issues 7 through 12. Yeah, I'm not discussing issues 5 and 6 because that's part of Doubleshot crossover. 4 was basically a lead into it, but was not collected in the trade payback for some reason. Not sure why, even though the whole point of the issue was set up the crossover with him confronting Jericho. Now, this book was published from, pretty much throughout the entirety of, the year 2009. They did the cover date of this one was February 2009. I think it started back in, December 08. And it wrapped up pretty much in, November of 09. Didn't last very long per se. No, it is longer than the previous volume. It is much more interesting than the previous one. The Bruce Jones book was not interesting. It was just basically just a creator, just Bruce Jones doing a Vigilante book. Didn't feel like a Vigilante book. I mean, it didn't capture anything related to the first volume. It just, we have a character called Vigilante. He just has one book and have characters pop up one other book, and that was pretty much it for the character. This character, Vigilante, is the brother of the original Vigilante, of the one who was started the first volume of the series. His is his younger brother. Now, the original Vigilante, who was part of these books, it was Adrian Chase. Had a very good first volume, 50 issues and 2 annuals. And had only about 3 different writers within 50 issues. You had Marv Wolfman, Alan Moore, and then the writer who basically got the book to be really good under his run was Paul Kupperberg. Here, we brought back the writer of the first volume, Marv Wolfman. This is pretty much a spin-off of basically, this is continuing off of what basically Marv Wolfman was establishing in the pages of Nightwing. Yes, he taken over as Nightwing writer, post the Bad Blur story, basically after a story arc that Bruce Jones, a really bad story arc. He, of course, had a really good run with the book. Of course, basically, when he took over the book, Nightwing was based in New York City, and he was pretty much based there the entire run. Though, when Peter DeTommaso took over the book, he had him basically based out of the Cloisters Museum, a place I actually visited in real life, and it was not an interesting place to visit. If you like stuff really close to the museum, it's basically a stained glass museum. That's literally what the place is. Lots of stained glass. Now, prior to this book, this Vigilante's name is this is the younger brother, like I mentioned, a younger brother of Adrian Chase. This is Dorian Chase. Before this book and after the Nightwing book, he popped up in a couple books. He popped up in Gotham Underground. And he popped up in an issue of Batman and the Outsiders prior to this. I actually think Batman came out while this book's coming out. Yes. So, in the opening issue, by the way, Rick and Artie, this is the artwork here, they brought back J.J. Davis, a character who died back in issue 9 of the original volume, making him one of 2 characters who appeared in the first volume. So you can feel it feels like a continuation of that first volume. He's basically a support crew for him. He's here for almost the entire book except for 2 issues. They bring Gary Washington, a character that Marvel did not create. He was associated with Adrian Chase in the first volume, that being this character was called Paul Kupperberg. Mostly put the character served as the best way to describe Gary Washington, I would say he was created for the purpose of creating the Checkmate series. And this is just basically, he's not with Checkmate anymore, he's part of the FBI. Yep. And throughout most of this book, with the exception of Death Trap issues, Vigilante is dealing with Tobias Whale, who has set up base operations in New York City. And almost this entire book is mostly based in New York City, except for a handful of issues. There's actually a couple issues where he actually goes to Gotham City. And twice in this book, he encounters Dick Grayson. First in issue 3 when he's Nightwing, and then, believe it or not, the penultimate issue of this book when he's already Batman. And he was also like, okay, here's another connection to the first volume. So, in the second issue, he fights the Executioner. In the first volume of the series, the Executioner was there as a recurring villain for Vigilante. Here, Marvel and Brom is a one-shot villain because, hey, his brother fought the original Executioner who died in that book. This technically is the third one. Now, according to Chuck Dixon, he actually wanted to use one version of the Executioner, but his character was pretty much the original Executioner Marvel been worked on, but he couldn't call him by the actual name. He called him Executioner, no problem. It's Executioner. He only appeared once because that was supposed to be the character Marvel created, but he couldn't use it because he was told no. So he basically made an original character. Yeah, like I mentioned, issue 3, he has accounts with Nightwing, which, by the way, in this book we actually see him with his helmet on, and he doesn't look like his brother at all. The only difference between him and his brothers is Adrian Chase was a blonde. Dorian Chase is raven-haired. And, like I mentioned, he's basically fighting Tobias almost the entire book. Also, the first issue itself also serves as a follow-up to Mark Ruppel's first story arc. I think it was second story arc, 321 Days, where the woman who Dick Grayson lost his virginity to is found dead in the first issue, along with basically her lover at the time, who was a former gang member, as basically a lover's quarrel. Of course, Vigilante does solve no problem. And it's almost like basically Mark Ruppel is trying to do a similar style of what he did back in the original book, per se. The one thing that's not here that was in the first one when Marvel wrote it, you see, Vigilante actually had a giant vehicle that served as small base operations. This Vigilante didn't have that. He had basically a building he was based out of, not some mobile big vehicle with a motorcycle. Oh, by the way, Dick Grayson's fine when he's fine. In case you're curious, though, does Dick ever find out that this actually is Adrian's brother in the book? The answer is no, he does not. He does not. And by the end of the book, he's actually arrested and thrown in jail. And you're thinking, wait a minute, why is he in jail? Well, he wants to kill criminals. Basically, it's like Wolfman made him basically DC's Punisher. It's like that's what he wanted to do. That's kind of what the purpose of the character was, be DC's Punisher. It's like he wanted to do that with Adrian, but couldn't. Paul Kupperberg took a different route and made the book really interesting with the whole mental stuff. This book basically used a similar idea, and yeah, he became DC's Punisher. He mostly killed some low-level thugs. He never killed any actual regular villains, per se. That's the thing with Dorian Chase. He never officially killed any big names. He never killed any villains. Like, I looked up his whole book. There's nobody who dies, with the exception of the one with Dick Grayson and another guy. But he doesn't kill. Dorian doesn't kill a single major character in this book. Yeah, with the exception of the first issue, you don't have any actual deaths in this book, per se. But it's a really interesting volume. I'm going to give it roughly a 9 out of 10 since I've already technically viewed the issues already. I'll go hang up my final thoughts. It's a very short-lived volume. It's like I said, it's a really interesting book. It's a shame this book did not receive a trade paperback. I'm not surprised the Bruce volume didn't because it was Bruce Jones. Nothing against the guy, but the book was interesting. This book was interesting. And yet DC chose not to collect it. Well, they did collect 2 issues as part of the Doubleshot crossover, but as for the rest of the issues, no. DC never bothered to collect this at all. And to this day, by the way, it has been, believe it or not, 16 years since this book ended, and no trade paperback. None whatsoever. Don't know why. I guess it's a good comes to that. Alright, so next up is The Ray. The Ray, of course, we're talking about, of course, The Ray Volume 2, issue 1628, written by Christopher Priest. Artwork by Claude St. Augustine. A lot of the book is basically just The Ray, of course. A lot of the book he battles Dr. Polaris in this book. Yeah, he battles Dr. Polaris. And a lot of this basically, even the story, basically just the whole purpose of the story just basically built to the end of this book. Mm-hmm. Now, those might be curious though. Does he fight the Ray? Does the Ray fight? Now, he also deals with Atomic Skull and Vandal Savage issues. We also have the first appearance in issue number 16 of Joshua Terrell. Who is this character? He is the Ray's brother. And he appears as a recurring character in this very book. When the book ends, he's never seen again. Atomic Skull is Joseph Martin, the guy who appeared in the main book per se. We also have an Underworld tie-in. We also have the first appearance of Dr. Spectron. He's this weird sci-fi villain who only appears in this one issue. Yeah, and if you're curious though, the Ray's tie-in with this thing is like, oh, let's also do with Death Mask. Who is probably one of the very few original villains for the Ray. Yes. And he's fighting with a lot of these issues until issue 24 when he finally dies. Oh yeah, and then issue 20 we have it's a Christmas issue. We also have the Black Condors. Both of them. We have two. We have Richard Gray Jr., who is the original Black Condor. Yeah, he appeared a few times in this book, but he didn't do very much. The most important one who appeared in the 90s was Ryan Keatle. This is the Black Condor he has on book. Let's discuss that next, by the way. Yeah. It seemed like right after this book wrapped up, which was 93. For the Ray, of course, he was here just as he was here a few times, but yeah, and then of course he fights off against a guy named Quentin Kendall, who is, believe it or not, Black Condor's grandfather. So, and also he got killed off in Nightwing of all things. Yes, he got killed off in Nightwing when Tomasi wrote the book. Yep. By issue 24, like I mentioned, basically that's when they kill off the character of Death Mask. After fighting, after Ray deals with him throughout a lot of the book. Yeah, he's pretty much destroyed. He's done. And as for the remainder 4 issues, it's called Time and Tempest, where basically it involves basically Ray from the future, and we also deal with a Flash, who's basically Bart Allen. Bart actually, this first year's version about himself, actually kisses a woman who actually rejects him. We also have Howard Porter coming in as a co-artist in this book. Black Canary is back in the book. Yes, for some reason, Priest made her a recurring character in the book. And the whole thing is trying to invent the future. That's kind of what the book is. And basically, Ray himself is not even a featured character in his own book. And he dies again in issue number 27. And that's when he finally deals with it. And then by the final issue, just deals with some basic relations about his past, and that's pretty much it for the book. It's an amazing book, and it is basically a shame this book did not was not collecting trade. First volume was, this volume was not for some reason. I've never seen Omnibus relay this book. None. I would have thought they would have released Omnibus by now, or at least some kind of trade paperback, but nope, nothing. My only guess is there's probably not a lot of interest, but the book is really good. Excuse me. The thing with I can praise Priest for is that, yes, he's no way to writing black characters, but the guy knows how to write solo superheroes really well, especially second generation ones. Yeah, and Ray Tito basically will continue to appear after this. Not a lot per se. Now, after his book ended, which by the way was in 1986. I mean, what did he do after the book wrapped up? He joins Young Justice. And also basically part of the JSA, Freedom Fighters. That's kind of what he does. He kind of get also loosely involved with the Outsiders. And he basically was also part of the Uncle Sam Freedom Fighters book. And he even exists in the current continuity. But they for some reason, because the live action version is like this, they decided to make the actual comic version of him like this. In the current continuity, Ray Tito is actually gay, despite the fact in the previous continuity he was straight. I don't know why in the world in continuity this was an idea they decided to do, but they did. Excuse me. But there are other basically characters who are related to who are also the Ray. There's also Stan Silver, who basically became a member of the Freedom Fighters. But next time we talk about the Ray, it will be the third volume. Yes, the third volume, which is supposed to lead to something that DC decided to not do. But I'll talk about that next time when I want to talk about these two books. But what's replacing Vigilante, because that's done. Me, I'm actually replacing that with Teen Titans Volume 2. Yep. Because, like a Vigilante, I want to put this book behind me. I want to move on to something else. But these books are good. Yeah. Just, DC, please put these books in trade. Yep. So yeah, this particular review, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do this like button. Well, next up basically is Demon Lord Retry. Yes, finally I can do the last episode. Yep. I'll be ranting about basically the latest with it. I'll be ranting about that, okay? Next video. Bye.